We have all been there. It's 3 a.m., the deadline is approaching, and you have convinced yourself that you can power through. You grab another coffee, stare at the screen, and tell yourself that you'll just catch up on sleep over the weekend. We often treat sleep as a luxury, something we trade for productivity or entertainment. But biologically, sleep isn't a luxury. It is the absolute foundation of your brain's existence. So, what actually happens inside your head when you skip a night of sleep? The moment you cross the 24-hour mark without shutting your eyes, your brain begins to fundamentally change how it operates. The first thing you notice is the brain fog, but it is actually much more severe than just feeling groggy. Studies have shown that staying awake for 24 hours leads to a cognitive impairment equivalent to having a blood alcohol concentration of 0.1%. That is above the legal driving limit in almost every country. Your reaction times slow down, your coordination falters, and your ability to make complex decisions practically evaporates. Essentially, a sleep-deprived brain is a drunk brain. But the chaos isn't just about sluggishness, it's also emotional. Have you ever noticed that you become incredibly irritable or anxious when you're exhausted? That is because of a disconnect between two specific parts of your brain. Deep inside the brain is the amygdala, the primitive structure responsible for immediate emotional responses, basically, your fight or flight radar. Normally, the amygdala is kept in check by the prefrontal cortex, the logical, high-functioning part of your brain that handles reasoning. When you miss a night of sleep, the connection between these two areas breaks down. Your prefrontal cortex loses its ability to regulate the amygdala. Without that logical break, your emotional center hits the gas pedal. The result is that you become roughly 60% more emotionally reactive. Negative stimuli seem darker, annoyances seem catastrophic, and your mood swings become unpredictable. While you are struggling to control your mood, your brain is also failing to store information. The hippocampus is the region of the brain responsible for absorbing new information and converting it into long-term memory. Think of it like the save button on a document. Sleep is the time when the brain moves files from temporary storage to the hard drive. Without sleep, the hippocampus shuts down. You can read the same paragraph 5 times and not retain a single word because your brain's inbox is full and refusing new attachments. Perhaps the most physically damaging effect occurs at the cellular level. During the day, your brain cells are hard at work, and this activity produces metabolic waste products, including a toxic protein called beta amyloid, which is linked to Alzheimer's disease. When you sleep, a waste clearance system called the glymphatic system kicks into high gear, effectively power washing the brain and flushing out these toxins. If you don't sleep, that cleaning process never happens. The waste accumulates, leaving your neurons in a toxic environment that prevents them from communicating effectively. Eventually, if you continue to push through, your brain will take matters into its own hands through a phenomenon called microsleep. This is where your brain forces you into unconsciousness for a few seconds, sometimes while your eyes are still open. It's a terrifying biological fail-safe that renders you blind to the world for moments at a time, which can be fatal if you are behind the wheel. So, while we often glorify the all-nighter as a sign of hard work, the biological reality is that you are actively damaging your cognitive hardware. You aren't cheating the system. You are just borrowing energy from tomorrow at a very high interest rate. The best thing you can do for your brain right now isn't to drink another espresso, it's to close your eyes. One night of lost sleep also affects how the brain perceives reward and risk. Studies show that sleep deprivation makes people more impulsive and more drawn to immediate rewards, while underestimating long-term consequences. This is why tired brains are more likely to make poor financial decisions, take unnecessary risks, or overeat high-calorie foods. The good news is that the brain is remarkably resilient. For most healthy adults, a single night of missed sleep doesn't cause permanent damage. Proper rest, brain activity, emotional balance, and cognitive performance can recover. However, repeated sleep deprivation tells a different story. When sleepless nights become routine, the brain never fully resets and the effects compound over time. In short, missing a night of sleep doesn't just make you tired, it temporarily reshapes how your brain works. It dulls attention, distorts emotions, weakens memory, and changes decision-making. Sleep isn't downtime for the brain, it's maintenance. And when that maintenance is skipped, the brain pays the price almost immediately.